Hi everyone, this is Sasha and Susie from Women's Fight News, sponsored by Champions Memorabilia. So another week, another weekly update. We were getting to the end of the week and I was like, oh, I don't think we're going to have much to talk about. And then all of a sudden, fights have been announced and I'm really excited. So I want to start with the fight that I am just mega excited for. Like, cannot wait. When it was all like speculated, I was just nearly crying with excitement. Terri Harper, Heather Hardy. I mean, I think that's my dream come true.
Yeah, you always say that. They're two of your favourite fighters.
Yeah. This is just, it's happening. It's happening. And it's in Nottingham, which I always, like, Nottingham's like my second home. Lived there for years, go back all the time. Like, the stars have aligned for me here.
Perfect, isn't it?
It is. But I mean, it's a big fight again for Terri. Now, just on Twitter, just then Michaela Mayer has come out and said, or she's kind of criticized Terri's team. I said she feels like Terri's being rushed. And obviously she's come back from that year injury and a very nasty injury. It was obviously the same hand again. She's come back, she's fought, she's lost. And now she's come back just a few months later. And Heather Hardy is like no pushover, is she?
She's so tough. She's never been stopped.
I know.
And the only two fights that she's ever lost in her career were against Amanda Serrano, which, you know, it's Amanda, and against Jessica Kamara, who we know has gone on to have that epic fight with Kaylee Reese. So,
yeah. And arguably beat Kaylee Reese. It was kind of 50-50 on that one. I think a lot of people thought she won. So, you know, Jessica Kamara is a very, very good fighter, as of course Amanda Serrano. I remember that fight. I remember getting up to watch the Amanda and Heather fight, and the first probably 45 seconds in the first round, I thought there's no way Heather's going to make it through the round, because I think Amanda was like non-stop and she made it the distance somehow and put up a decent fight as well. So very, very tough fight for Terri again.
Definitely. And she's such a popular fighter as well, Heather Hardy. She's going to have quite a lot of support, you know, behind her. It's a shame that she can't get her fans coming over on the planes. I think she'd probably bring a bit of an army over to the UK with her, but they'll be supporting from home. But she's going to bring a lot of viewers, as well as obviously Terri's obviously very popular over here, but she's going to bring her own viewers over as well, Heather Hardy, to the show, which is great.
Yeah, she's a massive ticket seller, isn't she? I know between her and Amanda, I think they sold out the majority of the stadium that they fought in. And, you know, Terri, we know how popular she is. Obviously, we were both lucky enough to be there ringside at a fight in Sheffield. I know it didn't go away, but the atmosphere was unreal in her walkouts. So you say they've both got tons of fans, and I think it'll be great for Heather actually to come to the UK. I think she deserves this opportunity to broaden her fan base even more, because, you know, she's been in the game a long time now, so I think it's about time she's got this like big platform to be on.
And I feel like with Heather, I mean, she's you know, been around a long time. She's done so much for the sport. I mean, she's been an advocate for you know, women's pay. She's done MMA. She's done loads, but she hasn't fought much recently, and I feel like there's been a wave and a push for women's boxing lately, and it's gained so many new fans that perhaps those fans don't know who Heather is. And it's going to be a treat for them to sort of get to know Heather, and I feel like it's nice that she's getting that sort of prominent position to get back on the stage for people to know who she is again.
That's a really good point, actually, isn't it? Of, you know, she has done so much for the sport, and then she's kind of been inactive during like the women's boxing boom. So that is actually a massive shame. And like you say, hopefully this will then like reignite that for her and obviously bring her more fans, because she's a great personality as well. So I'm sure in that build up, that fight week build up, she will gain loads of fans, I think. And I think obviously Terri's got a lot of respect for her as well. So I think that'll be a really nice build up as well. So I'm really enjoying that, or going to enjoy that.
And I love Heather's backstory as well. I think people all sort of get to know her and love her backstory as well, as to what makes her so tough. As to, you know, she always says she feels like she's the toughest woman she knows, and with good reason.
Oh, I always say I think she's the toughest person to enter the ring. I really, really do. She won't be stopped, in all fairness. I think, you know, Terri, I'm sure she will be very powerful, especially moving up in weight. And I'm sure Terri will go on to stop many fighters, but I just don't think it'll be Heather Hardy, because it's just not in her heart to be stopped at all.
But great fight for Terri. Like, again, she's not going for the easy fight. She's going for straight in there, lightweight, boom, title, a name.
That's it. And like Steffi Bull says, so Michaela Mayer was like, she's being rushed, blah, blah, blah. But Steffi was like, well, who else is she supposed to fight? Because what's she going to learn? And obviously his saying is, what's she going to learn from fighting dinner ladies? Which is true, though. And I think women's boxing, as great as it is, still doesn't obviously have a massive depth. So you don't have as many options for these build-up fights. I think it is either you take basically a 50-50 fight, or you fight someone who's nowhere near as good as you. And I never see the point in doing that. So I think this is the right decision. I don't think they've made a mistake, and I don't think she's being rushed. I think she's just very good and just lost the last fight. I don't think that means that you've been rushed in your career. And Heather's a great test. And I think if Terri comes through it, I think that'll be a massive confidence boost for her as well.
I feel like with the last fight, I feel like it was a lot down to, not that Terri wasn't ready for Alicia, but I feel like they got the tactics wrong. They didn't know much about her as a fighter and how she was going to come forward and the style of fighting so much. And I feel like the tactics against her was just wrong. And I think if they actually had another rematch, I know that she's not going to be able to make that weight now, but if they had a rematch, I think it would have been a totally different fight.
It was interesting, wasn't it? I think, I agree. I think the tactics weren't probably spot on at all. I think it was quite a tough fight with Alicia's power, and Terri probably was rusty and didn't have a timing. And I just think it was all probably a bit of a bad mix, but it's one of them, isn't it? I think you live and you learn. I'm glad we're not seeing the rematch, because I do think Terri looked very drained at that weight. I think and probably hindsight's a great thing. If you look back on that build up, I think even like her skin, the color of her skin, you could tell like she didn't really look well. And I think you can tell now that you look back that, it's a very wise decision to not try and make that weight, because it's dangerous as well. Like, she's obviously been knocked out on her feet now. Obviously, if you drained at that weight, you lose fluid around the brain. Women already have less fluid around the brain. So it's just, you don't want it to be dangerous. At the end of the day, it is, as great as it is, it's still just a sport. Another fight that I know we both were saying before, like, I'm quite surprised, but it's a good surprise, is the Jamie Mitchell Carly Skelly fight. So I'm very glad it's not a Jamie having to wait for Shannon Courtney to eventually be ready rematch. I'm very glad Jamie's fighting, but quite random, I think.
I did not expect this, because there's been a lot of names thrown about with who wants, lots of people are after Jamie Mitchell, let's face it. And there's been so many names thrown about, people saying this person should get a shot, that person. But I never saw Carly's name in the mix.
No.
And then here she is. But maybe because she's fought last at super bantamweight, perhaps people, she got that WBC, it was the international title. So maybe people thought she wasn't going to come back down to bantamweight. So it's a big surprise for me.
Yeah, but a good one. I think I really like this fight. I think it'll be a really entertaining fight to watch. And I think it's 50-50, in my opinion. I think Carly brings a lot to the table. I just don't think we all know it yet. I think, if we look at the Emily Timlin fight, I personally think she won that fight. Now, I know on paper it was a draw. I would have loved to have seen the rematch for that one. But fair play to Carly. Like, she has just cracked on now and taken the opportunities and tried to keep as active as possible. She's very tough as well, Carly. I think technically Jamie's better, but I think Carly will keep pushing forwards, whereas we didn't see Shannon do that against Jamie. So it'd be quite interesting to see how Jamie adapts, because I think Carly is a very different fighter than Shannon.
Yeah, she's a very awkward kind of fighter, and she kind of gets in the mix, kind of roughs people up a little bit.
Yeah.
Pushing forward, like you said.
That's it. Like, she's not super orthodox, I don't think, Carly, in her technique and things like that. I think she just gets stuck in, which is great, and it pays off a lot of the times. And obviously I think it's hard then for the opponent, because I don't think as an opponent you can anticipate what's going to happen. With Shannon Courtney, I think she's got, just as a fan, I think I could pinpoint the three kind of routines that she has and combinations that she has. But someone like Carly, I think she just gets stuck in. She roughs people up. She uses, she's quite strong and she uses that power on the inside. I think she can bully Jamie a little bit on the inside. So it'll be interesting to see if Jamie can like keep a distance, use the jab well, because Jamie's jab's very good in my opinion. So I think this is like styles make fights, and I think this will be a great fight. And it's in America. I didn't even bother to check where it was.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so I think the 5th of February. So I know we were saying before as well, I'm desperate to know if they've both had a full training camp, because like I say, it's just being like kind of like sprung upon us, I suppose, as fans. So be interesting to see when they both knew they would be fighting. I'm presuming Jamie's known or penciled that date in for a while, but it'd be interesting to know when Carly was offered that fight.
Because I can imagine Carly be up for it, whatever, she'd give a week's notice. I think she'd just take it because she won the opportunity.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's like, well, if you have to go in the flight tomorrow, you're going to go in the flight tomorrow, because Carly's wanted the world title shot for a long time. So you can't tear your nose up, can you? But, it's still a couple of weeks away. I think Carly always keeps in great shape anyway. I think she always looks like she's training based on her social media and stuff like that. So I can't imagine it's going to be too much of a stretch anyway. But I always find it interesting to know how, because sometimes opponents get very, very short notice, don't they? Which it just sways my opinion then of who's going to win the fight. I suppose that's the only reason I want to know.
Yeah, I do think Matchroom have a bit of a habit of leaving the opponents to the last minute. So yeah,
they showed that I think a lot last year, didn't they? I think there was a lot of times that poor fighters would be turning up, they'd be sitting at the table at the press conference and they still wouldn't know who they would fight. Look at Rhiannon Dixon. That happened to her a couple of times. And Tasha Jonas, obviously she's obviously moved away from Matchroom. I think it happened more than them knowing who their opponents are. I think more often than not, fighters are getting to fight week and there's still no idea who they're fighting.
And the amount of times I've written out a fight schedule, and then the fighter will contact me and say, "Oh, I'm not fighting that opponent now." And that is fight week that I've been writing that out.
And it must be so frustrating, because you've got in your head, this is who I'm fighting, you're planning for that person, you're probably tactically planning for that person, and then all of a sudden it's like someone completely different.
Yeah, definitely
frustrating. Someone else who's got a fight coming up on the 5th of February, however, it is in Cardiff. So it's obviously not just Clarissa Shields fighting that week. Caroline Dubois will be making her debut, which I'm really excited. I can't wait to see her as a professional.
Yeah, that's it. Because we were expecting her end of last year, but obviously then she got injured. So yeah, it'd be great to see her on the 5th, along, on the undercard. It'd be brilliant. Alongside Clarissa Shields. What a great night that's going to be. Yeah,
again, it's like a blessing in disguise, isn't it? That I know obviously she was injured. I'm sure that's frustrating, but what a lovely card to be on as well. Like, you're fighting on the card of like one of the greatest female boxers of all time. Like, that's pretty impressive for your debut. And I'm sure Caroline, everyone's got very high hopes for Caroline. I'm sure she is going to follow in the footsteps of someone like Clarissa and win many world titles if we're based on how successful she was as an amateur.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Can't wait to see the start of her career, because like you said, hopefully it's the start of something special.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully she doesn't have a stop-start year. I know a few people have turned over and it's been really difficult. COVID doesn't help. And so I'm really hoping that someone like Caroline can just get the ball rolling straight away now and, get a good 3 or 4 fights in this year.
Definitely.
Another fight, I'm really looking forward to this one as well, actually. Beck Connolly, Nina Hughes in York Hall.
And Beck as active as ever.
Beck just never sits down.
She's always out and about.
Beck makes me look like the world's laziest person. The only thing I don't like about her, because apart from that, she is just lovely. Like I say, she just gets stuck in, doesn't she? She just never, I don't think she's ever turned down a fight. And she is one of them. I mean, literally, you give her a fight and like, right, Beck, you've got a fight in 2 days, you've got to drop 12 pounds. She's like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, she just gets on with it, and she's always in amazing shape.
I know. Not fair. Why? How? That'll be a really good fight, actually. Obviously, Nina Hughes is 1-0 at the minute, but I think Beck's really got point to prove. I think she's got like fire in her belly now to just come back and not always be, in a way, second best. I think she's really, really, what I gather anyway, is that she's very determined to come out and get a win. You know, she's, I'm presuming, it looks like she's done a full camp. I think she's dedicating herself purely to boxing. I think even I know she was doing a lot of PT and stuff on the side. It looks like she's not doing that. I think she is just fully like engaged in boxing at the minute. And I don't know. I don't know who I fancy for this. I'm sitting on the fence for this one. I'm not too sure.
Because she said, you know, she's been quite open with how she mentally wasn't right last year.
Yeah.
And now she says that she's, you know, she sorted herself out, got her head right, and like you say, she's got a point to prove. So yeah, who knows?
I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm actually hoping I can go. I want to go and watch that one live because I think it's going to be a great fight. And like I say, big fan of Nina Hughes. Well, she's a great fighter. She's got a great future ahead. It's a brave. I always think anyone fighting Beck in like the first or second fight is very brave. It's a bold move because again, Beck is very tough. She doesn't go down easy, and she's awkward. Again, she is quite an awkward opponent to fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. You can't count Beck out. You know, yeah.
No matter what. So that's another good one. Little thing on Twitter. Now, obviously, we all know what's said on Twitter is never, ever gospel truth, obviously. But I have just seen something on Twitter and I don't know how true it is, but I want it to be. So rumor has it, and again, it's not true, but rumor does have it that Michaela Mayer and Delfine Persoon could be fighting. I'm all there for that fight.
This is crazy. This would be an amazing fight, definitely.
Yeah. Do you see it happening?
I mean, I just think, yeah, maybe, because although I would think that'd be crazy for Michaela Mayer, because who wants to take on Persoon? Because she's just relentless. She's the Terminator. She's one tough fight. And she hasn't got a belt or anything, so you're not actually going to get a belt from her. It's more of a point to prove. But Michaela Mayer wants to show people how good she is. She's got a point to prove to show she's the best. And I think she would be keen to take that fight to prove to everyone how good she is.
Yeah, but it's just so high risk with... I won't say no rewards, because to say you've beat Delphi Persoon is genuinely a massive reward, because even if she comes without a belt, she is Delphi Persoon, who again arguably beat Katie Taylor at least once, if not twice, according to some people. Obviously that's people's opinions, but you know, regardless, it was practically a 50-50 fight. But Michaela Mayer's come out and said, you know, she wants to be undisputed, she wants to move up in weight, she wants to fight Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, so why wouldn't she fight Delphi Persoon? But I would love to see it. I just think her focus has become an undisputed in super featherweight, so I don't know where that would then fit in with her plans. But I'd love to see it. I'm there for it. I'd love what a fight that would be. And if we're basing it anything off, I mean, because to be fair, Hamadouche is kind of similar to Persoon in the non-stop forwards, non-stop punching, and that was one of my favorite fights of the year, Hamadouche and Mayer. So purely as a fan perspective, that would be massive fight, actually.
It impressed me so much, Michaela Mayer, with how she dealt with that pressure.
Yeah,
she just dealt with it so well, and wasn't pushed back. She kept at it. She did, you know. So the fact that she can deal with that pressure, and she has a great chin. We didn't know that so much before. She's definitely got a great chin. So yeah.
I think we learned a lot from Michaela in that fight, actually. Like, I'm a big fan of Michaela's as well. I think she's a great fighter, and I always wanted to see the Terri Harper Michaela Mayer fight for undisputed, but which might happen down the line, and obviously in lightweight division. But with Michaela Mayer, I think she's another one that has probably made her opponents look not as good. So it looks like she's been in easy fights, which is obviously just credit to her. But in that Hamadouche fight, thought the scorecards were a little bit wide, but in that Hamadouche fight, she was so versatile. Like, I think we saw snippets of everything she can do, because she got stuck on the inside for a lot of the fight. But then when she needed to, she would, like, you know, take a step back, box at range, used, her jab well. She had great footwork and she showed power as well. I didn't know she was as powerful as what she showed in that fight.
Yeah, she seemed to hurt Hamadouche, didn't she?
Mm.
And she wasn't just going to the head, she was going to the body. Some great
variation was unreal.
Yeah.
Which credit to Coach Al. He's obviously doing a great job. Because, I mean, Michaela Mayer, actually, if you probably look back from her last 4 or 5 fights, I think if everyone sat and watched them, you could probably see massive improvements in every single fight. She hasn't like stood still in her development at all. And I think that's another thing that's great to see.
She's impressed me with how much she's improved each time. She definitely has. She's definitely stepped up. And that last fight, like you say, it's just all seemed to come together.
Yeah. It was a perfect display. Like I say, I had Mayer winning comfortably. I just thought the scorecards were a little wide, but shouldn't take away from how great the fight was. Hope Hamadouche comes back though. So they're like the main fights, aren't they? Obviously, that have been announced. I think the final thing, and I feel like we're going to end up mentioning this every week until it happens, but there has been a date speculated for Serrano and Taylor, which is April 30th. I've already been looking at the flight prices. Got it.
I was going to say, you've already looked at the flights.
I've already picked my hotel, which is a lot more expensive than when we went 2 years ago, just before the pandemic. I feel like hotels have doubled in price in New York, but you know what? It's worth it, so it's fine. I'll pay. I already know that I'm going the Wednesday. I'm going to fly out, so I've got it all planned out. And I was
time from work.
Yeah, time's off from work. That's all committed. Flights are on bookmark on my laptop. I'm ready to go. And if it's not April 30th, I'm going to be really annoyed because I spent about 3 hours looking at hotels for them dates last week. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's going to be some experience.
Yeah, and let's hope it's April 30th. I hope they announce it soon because I just can't wait much longer now.
I'm sure they will because they want to build it, don't they?
Yeah, so I think when I worked it out, how many weeks away was it? It was over 12 weeks away still. So I thought, wow, I reckon they might announce it like dead on 12 weeks. Obviously 3 months. I'm presuming they'll come and do some like promotion here and
yeah, worldwide sort of, yeah.
That's it. So they'll need a little bit of time. So hopefully, because like I say, Skyscanner is on, credit cards there, booking.com's on. Like I'm just ready to go when it's announced. Right, I think that's it for this week then.
Yeah, like you say, we were thinking, it's a bit of a slow week, then suddenly boom, no.
All the drama starts, no? And that is it without Rick Ramos even kicking off about anything, and we still had loads to talk about, so. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to our channel where we have new videos dropping all of the time. Also head over to our social media pages where we have the latest boxing news as well as interviews and live coverage from boxing events.